The government wants to prohibit drugs so they can sell them for a huge profit.
Okay. Many people have those views. I have no personal information about it one way or the other. Let me ask you a question, though. How much corruption can you buy for $1 million in cash? And the answer is quite a bit. So if you're talking huge amounts of cash, how can you express surprise when you find that they have corrupted people? You are absolutely right from my standpoint with regard to Oliver North. It is acknowledged that he had safes full of cash in the White House. And in fact, I happened to become friends with with Fawn Hall, and I married, actually, Fawn Hall and Danny Sugarman, and they became friends of mine. And she has told me, who Fawn Hall was. She was Oliver North's secretary. And so she has few good things to say about Oliver North anymore, by the way. But all of that is true. In addition, there are many people, in fact, I have a book on drug policy that I had a chapter on conspiracy theories. I don't have any personal information one way or the other, except for a couple of reasons. When I was in the United States Attorney's Office, what I've lovingly called Mother Hen, or my supervisor, was a fellow by the name of Rob Bonner. Rob Bonner went on to become a federal judge. Then he was the head of the DEA under the first George Bush. And I saw Rob on television one time acknowledging, now he was with the DEA, acknowledging that the CIA had been proved to have brought cocaine into the United States of America. He said that on national television. So that's certainly a justification to believe. In addition, there are numbers and numbers of articles and books written by people who at least were in a position to know. People that used to be members of the CIA, used to be in the DEA, used to be in the Army, and they wrote from firsthand experience that what you say in Arkansas or the Iran-Contra was true. I don't know, but they were in a position to know. And again, I fall back on my first question to you. If you're talking millions and millions of dollars in cash, it's hard to express surprise when some people give in to it. So I agree. Any further questions? Yes.
Actually, as a chemist, when I think of heroin, I think of Bayer AG, as in Bayer aspirin, which first synthesized heroin and trademarked the name. But I'm going to toss out an idea here and go a little bit past your idea of package stores. It's my impression that the federal government cannot tax or regulate the activities of state governments, so that if the state were to actually not just sell it in package stores, but were to actually grow marijuana, and is that the federal government would not be able to stop that, even though it kind of makes me grit my teeth thinking about sponsoring socialism at the state level. Do you think that might actually be practical? I mean, practical, assuming that you got a political consensus behind it in the state.
Well, first of all, I have no idea constitutionally how the federal government can get away with this in the first place. It took a constitutional amendment to institute alcohol prohibition, and then, of course, naturally, it took a constitutional amendment to repeal it. How they could have come through with all of this on drugs, other drugs, actually, is unknown to me. Otherwise, I am convinced that the Supremacy Clause would have federal law trump state law. From a legal standpoint, I'm convinced that it is, in fact, a violation of federal law to buy, use, possess marijuana, and it is. Even a seed is a violation of federal law. I think that they would be successful. Certainly the Supreme Court would back them up to keep the state of California from instituting this program. I do think, though, I agree with you that they couldn't tax the state of California in that endeavor if they were to do so. But nevertheless, I think federal law does trump the state law. That's why I'm so concerned about it. That's why there is a provision in AB 390 to only have it go into effect 30 days after it would no longer be a violation of federal law.
Yeah, based on, we've already had history show us, we took away alcohol, a drug, and then put it back on. And we also, here in California, we had legalized or unlegalized bookies with horse races and stuff like that. And then we went to satellite wagering. What's the pros and cons, and what do you think it would take to get the mindset of the country that gambling's a drug, alcohol's a drug, to actually doing the same thing with all the other drugs down to the end user?
I think it's on its way. With this financial crisis, this economic crisis, people are opening their perspective to the possibility of bringing in untapped resources to the state and the federal local governments. And what better one to do than starting with marijuana? I think that's happening. I believe, once again, that prohibition never works as well as regulation and control. That's true with regard to gambling. It's true with regard to any of these things. I was asked at the college today, well, what about prostitution? I again just pointed to the same thing. I mean, prohibition never works as well as regulation and control. So I think you're right, and I think it's coming.
Tobacco, agriculture crop, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Government subsidies, correct?
Regretfully, yes.
Okay, fine. There's now a $1 they just bumped up that. What are you going to do when people actually, my uncle used to raise grapes before he retired, and uncle grew grapes. When there was a surplus, they would pay them not to grow it. Now, what are you going to do when there's a surplus of marijuana, when people are actually cutting down or, literally just saying, I'm not going to grow grapes, I'm going to grow marijuana. And suddenly you have to subsidize some guy not to grow corn, wheat, grapes, wheat, whatever, and there's 100 acres, some mom and pop farm, which of course is becoming less and less. Hi there, here's your $1 million not to grow marijuana this year. Isn't it just become another tobacco subsidy of the government? And what are you going to do? Are you going to keep regulating it on a pack of marijuana? Here's your 20 marijuana cigarettes, and we're going to just raise that tax and raise the tax like Obama? Hi there, every year, boom, and then every state will have their own little state tax on it. Hi, we can grow marijuana in this state, but well, we can't in North Dakota. So North Dakota have a high tax, but California have a low tax. I mean, and then Obama Jr. will come in and go, well, I'm going to, I just looked at it. It was 39-cent Fed when he put it in. It was a 39-cent tax, and he bumped it up to $1.01. And I'm not a tobacco smoker, so it doesn't affect me, but seems like an awful lot of money going to the feds that way.
Okay. First of all, I don't you dare saddle me with these subsidies. First thing I'm going to do as king is to get rid of them. But look, my option. I mean, everybody has options and choices in this whole area. My option is the concept of federalism. Let each state decide how best to have this happen. So, Illinois comes up with something that works pretty well. Indiana comes up with something that really doesn't. What's going to happen in the future? Well, Illinois might fine-tune a little bit and tinker a little bit, but generally they'll leave it alone. Indiana's going to look around and say, wait a minute, what we're doing, we had good intentions, we thought it might work, it doesn't. Look what Illinois is doing. Let's gravitate over toward that. So the answer is I don't know. As to different taxes, how much? As soon as you tax it too high, you start encouraging the black market again. They certainly found that with cigarettes. They actually had people running cigarettes across the Great Lakes and into Canada when Canada put up too high a tariff on there. Makes sense to me, and so they got smart and they reduced their taxes a bit. Personally, as far as these various drugs are concerned, in a lot of ways, I would like to have it taxed fairly heavily, and then as long as it doesn't encourage the black market, and then use that tax revenue for drug education and drug treatment. I am not trying to get people to buy cocaine. I really would prefer they not do that, but if they're adults, I can't stop them, nor do I really want to.